They fear losing their family, but say they can no longer remain silent. As the reflex begins, welcome. We have been approached by several members of Jehovah's Witnesses who have decided to leave the community years later. But they say it's not easy, risking losing loved ones if they do, likening the impending social isolation to death. The community of Jehovah's Witnesses denies the forced ban on contact with the departed. However, the videos we have obtained say otherwise.
Hello, can I take a look?
3 months ago, a man who grew up in a family of Jehovah's Witnesses approached us and talked about the ban on transfusions, waiting for the end of the world, but especially about social isolation.
We have a great community teaching. We have a lot of information.
Very often, it is emphasized and recalled that the outside world is under the influence of essentially the devil. People who are not in that organization, who do not have that divine guidance, can have a bad spiritual and moral influence.
Since I didn't hate what was wrong, I didn't see anything wrong with my decisions. In the end, I was disfellowshipped. My family was devastated.
The young man claimed that he wanted to leave the community, but it was not easy.
This would put my parents under very great psychological pressure. They have a doctrine where excommunicated members are essentially isolated from that community. No one in that community can contact, talk to, or even greet excluded members.
This is the speech to be delivered at a convention hall in the Czech Republic, where leading representatives of Jehovah's Witnesses are also discussing how to deal with departed members.
Those parents know. With no one? Yes, with no one. Does it mean our son, our daughter? Does it mean parents? Does this also mean siblings and a close friend? The Bible says with no one.
This is a form of death. When a person is truly isolated from social ties, we are simply social beings. We need it, and that's what has a terribly bad impact on a person when all of their loved ones, their family, suddenly, they cut him off completely.
An official statement from Jehovah's Witnesses states,
When someone is excluded or decides to leave Jehovah's Witnesses, their former congregation may choose to limit or terminate contact with them based on their conscience. But such a person is not rejected or considered an apostate, as some claim.
After this report aired, other members of Jehovah's Witnesses reached out and wanted to speak. The case also went to the Ministry of Culture.
And I can confirm that after the report was broadcast, we received several comments that actually responded to what was aired. I would divide them into critical and supportive. Those critical of the community confirmed what was broadcast in the full report regarding the practice of social isolation.
I am a parent, and I have a child that I raised within this organization, and I know from my own experience that I have hurt him many times in my approach to that child. One does not look that far. What about a pension? What about my children? He sees all this in the short term and expects some kind of imminent end. When someone put a child in a hobby group, people from that community asked him, "Are you putting a child in the hobby group? Why are you doing this?" They often use the example that you don't go looking for a job in a company when you know it's going to go bankrupt.
How do you, as a parent, see it now with hindsight?
Well, it hurt them to lose their identity and that inner pain. I'm just imagining that if I were a child and I knew my parent was threatening me, saying, "If you don't come with us to this social event, you cannot live with us."
I will have to leave home if I do not want to change my way of life. He said I was a bad influence on my younger brother and sister.
The child associates having a good relationship with the parents with the fact that they have to stay in this organization, which I think is very bad for a young person's development.
Do not socialize with anyone. With no one. And that's hard. That's hard in that situation when someone is close. It may be a parent, or it may be a child.
Have you talked to your child now that you're at a different stage?
Yes, I'm grateful that I lived to be able to apologize to them.
Once again, we reached out to Jehovah's Witnesses. We asked why, in their statements, they claim that witnesses are not forbidden from meeting with departed members, but the videos in our possession say the opposite. This is what they said.
The apparent discrepancy between our written opinion and the video can be explained. Within religious beliefs and practices, Jehovah's Witnesses teach that the Bible encourages limiting or cutting off contact with individuals who have been excluded or have renounced their faith. However, individual believers decide for themselves how to apply this biblical teaching based on their conscience. Do I obey just because I have to, or do I think, mine? Or do I remind myself that this is what Jehovah wants from me? It is what Jehovah wants for that person. It is best for them and for us.
Officially, they say that everyone can leave. They are free. It is a voluntary organization, and we do not keep anyone here. Yes, it is true, he can leave, but everyone who leaves, whether they are disfellowshipped or leave voluntarily, there is social isolation. They should not contact him. It's reminded all the time, it's even in the form that it's the only help you can give him when you don't contact him, because then he realizes he misses you.
Mom and Dad understood that they had to be faithful like Aaron. They loved me and wanted me to return to Jehovah.
Several complaints about Jehovah's Witnesses are currently being dealt with by the Ministry of Culture.
It would be optimal to prove that there is a violation of the law and then their behavior was modified in some way. However, should this not happen, the last resort is to revoke the church's registration.
In their statements, Jehovah's Witnesses repeatedly claim that everything is lawful and point to numerous judgments.
Jehovah's concern is to protect his pure, holy name first. Second, to protect the purity of the congregation. And third, to help the offender.
What do you believe now?
I believe in God, but I have lost trust in man. God is so autonomous, so powerful, that if he wants something, he will solve it. He does not need someone here to be his representatives.